Hello, hello. I'm going to wait for some people to come on to my little live sewing session. Hopefully some people will join me. And while I'm waiting, I'm just going to have a little consideration of my sewing pencil roll and how I'm going to create this for you guys tonight. Hopefully some of you might be sewing along with me too. Give me a hello if you come on. I don't know if I've got my comments up. Let's have a look. Oh no. Let me know, comment and let me see if I can see it, because I'm not sure if I can yet. So if you come on, give me a little hello. Oh yes, I can see it. Hello Charlotte. Wasn't sure if I could see the comments. So hopefully a few more people will join me. So making the pencil roll tonight. Yay, Charlotte, well done. Cool, how exciting. I love that people are starting to want to sew along now as well. That's fab. So I'll try and keep it as clear and concise as I can while we're sewing. Hello, Nikki. So we're going to make the pencil roll tonight, and that was a suggestion by one of my sewing ladies, Celine, who came to one of my workshops. She said, oh, I'd really like to do a live, and I thought that's a really cool little live actually. I fancy doing that myself. It's really handy. Not only can you use it for, you know, kids, I'm going to make one for me tonight that I could put a notepad in as well, or attempt to, but I also thought it'd be a really nice little Christmas gift, birthday gift, or a teacher gift as well. You can make a fab little roll for your teacher, put a little notebook in there for them, pens and pencils and stuff. I thought that equally would be a really nice little leaving present, or, you know, end of term present for teachers as well. So that was my thinking. So if you come up with any other ideas where this could be used, let me know. Or actually, just popped in my head, you know, little birthday, you know, when you do party bags, this would be a fab little make for those as well. Imagine giving your little guests a little sewing roll, a little pencil roll that you've made yourself, or mummy's made herself. That would be a pretty fab idea as well. So anyway, hello everyone. Hello Adele. Who else have we got here? Anna. Hi Anna. So we're going to get started because people are going to join at different times, and if you're watching on replay, you do not want to just hear me jabbling on at the start. So if you do watch on replay, pop replay in the comments so I know when you come on. Hello Anna. And if you're sewing live with me tonight, pop I'm sewing live or something of that sort, or pop me a sewing emoji or something in the comments. Could be a makeup roll. Yes, it could be a makeup roll. That'd be an amazing idea actually. Yes. So if we're going on summer holidays this year, it could be a fab little makeup roll. You could even make a little bit of a waterproof lining and put it for your toothbrushes and toothpaste. So many opportunities. Yep, crayons, paintbrushes, might be a bit messy, but anything sort of storage that's long like that, these could be suitable for. So you're going to need fabric, obviously, and I've chosen 2 different types of fabric because I thought it's quite nice to have your main fabric and then the pocket where everything goes into, maybe in a different colour fabric. But the choice is entirely up to you, of course. And I've picked, this is a new one that I've bought for some makes that I've been doing to pop out a local shop, and I'm really into these pastel colours at the moment, hoping for spring and summer, obviously, wishing towards that. And then I thought this lovely lilac, this is one of the new fabrics I've got in my workshops that you can use if you come and join me. I've got some new spots in. I've got this really lovely sort of mauve lilac, so I'm going to pinch a bit of that tonight for my sewing roll, not my sewing roll, my pencil roll as well. So in my pencil roll, what I was thinking I was going to do is do half of my pens and pencils, and then I was going to try and make a space that I could put like an A6 notepad in, and then just fold mine in half almost like a book. So that was kind of my plan in my head, but you can follow along this exact same design. You just wouldn't do the gap for the notebook if you didn't want to. Just carry on with the smaller sections. So up to you. So it'd be interesting to see everybody's difference in design. And also what I'm going to try and do tonight as well live is one of the ladies this week who came and visited me in the workshop was sort of asking what I use ribbons and things for, because I've got lots in here, and I was like, oh, I use it to decorate some of my cushions and things. So I thought I'm going to use some ribbon in on this roll tonight to give you an idea of what you could use ribbon for. And I'm also going to have a little attempt to use some rickrack around the edges, so just to give you an idea really of how you can sort of jazz up the designs in different ways. And again, you can use these trimmings on all sorts of makes that you might want to make. So let's get started. So first of all, I'm going to get some paper because I'm going to want to write down my measurements. So you want to get have an idea of what you're going to store in your roll first. So for instance, if you're going to have pens and pencils or colouring pens and pencils, crayons, a notebook, whatever it is, you want to get those to see how tall they are first of all. Now what I'm going to do with this pencil roll is have it taller than the pencil so that it can flap over the top. So when it's rolled up, it's not going to tip out. You know, if the child sort of tips it upside down, all the pens aren't going to come out. So that's the thinking in my head. Let me just grab a pen. Oh, let me just grab a pen. There's one right there. So you want to measure first how tall your tallest pen or pencil or whatever it is you're going to store in your little pouch is. So this particular pen is 17 centimetres. Let's write that down. And if I want to put a notebook in here, actually, I'm just going to get some A4 paper. So an A6 notepad, for instance, would kind of be half of an A4 sheet. So the height of that is about 22 centimetres. So I'm going to go with 25 centimetres at my longest point to make sure I'm covering what I need of either a notepad or, you know, a longer pen or something like that. So measure what you've got. Put on, you know, a couple of centimetres because it's not going to go right to the bottom of your pencil roll, and equally you want to have a bit at the top that you can fold over, so you want it a bit longer. So measure your longest thing and add sort of 2 or 3 centimetres onto that to give you a bit of leeway. So I'm going to go for 25 centimetres at my longest point in my pen and pencil sort of section. So that's what I want to have in my mind for the bottom half of my pencil roll. So let me just draw this out, what I've got in my head. So above my 25 centimetres, which is my longest point, I'm then going to measure a little lid for that. So I'm going to go with 15 centimetres because it comes over quite far. It's going to give me plenty of room for seam allowances as well. So 15 centimetres, and that's going to be the fabric that comes over the pens and pencils so that when you then roll it up, it's not going to tip out. So it's plenty then, definitely not going to be coming out. And it'll also give a little bit of protection as well to those pens and pencils and things that are in there. So 15 centimetres. And then you want to decide however long, however wide you want to have your pencil roll. So there's no set width you can have. It is entirely up to you. So I want to put a book in mine. So I want to put my, let's grab this back again, my A6 notepad, which is going to be, you know, sort of that width there. I'm just using my planner here. So that is 15 centimetres across. So I need to make it bigger. So I'm going to go for 18 centimetres across. And I'm going to times that by 2. So half will be my book and the other half will be then my pens and pencils. So 2 lots of 18. Let's use our maths. What's that? 28, 36? 36 centimetres, people. 10, 20, 36. Yep. And then on all of those measurements, I'm going to give myself a centimetre seam allowance. So on that 36, I'm going to do a centimetre seam allowance this side and a centimetre seam allowance that side. So 2 centimetres to each measurement as such. So that'd be 38. Then I've got 25 and 15, which is 30, 40. So that would be 42. So, ta-da, here's my diagram. So along the bottom here, I'm having 18 centimetres, which will cover my notebook. I'm just going to duplicate that for my pens and pencils, so another 18. Add those together, add on 2 centimetres for my 2 seam allowances. So I'm going to have a total of 38 centimetres across. Down the side here, this is back to front, it won't be when it comes on live. Down here, I'm going to go for 25 centimetres. So that's the height of my tallest pen. Actually, the height of my book plus a couple more. So 2 more centimetres. And then I'm going to have 15 centimetres for my overlap. Again, you can have whatever you want for that piece. And then adding on 2 more centimetres for a centimetre each end for my seam allowance. So 25 and 15 is 40 and 2 more is 42. So I've got 42 down and I got 38 across. So that's the side of my back fabric. So I'm going to get 2 pieces of that. So it's quite a big piece of fabric. Again, you don't have to make it this size. So that's going to be the outside of my roll and then the inside of my roll, which the pocket will lay on top. So I'm going to go for the lovely lilac for that. So I'm going to cut 2 of that size. So what you could do at this point to make it easier for yourselves is you can make yourself a paper template of that. So take your measurements, square it up and make it onto a template, either using normal pattern paper, baking paper, printer paper, whatever you've got to hand. It really doesn't matter. Wrapping paper, it honestly doesn't matter as long as it's helping you cut down, you know, cut out your pattern piece. Right, let's have a look. Who else have we got on? Who have we got? Jackie. Hello, Jackie. Kathleen, Jade, Leslie, Deborah. Hello, lovelies. You're writing this down, Leslie. Yeah, I don't blame you. I've got my water tonight because I feel like I'm going to talk a lot through this one to explain what I'm doing, because it's slightly more complicated than my general mini makes that I do. Hello, Charmaine. So I've got my water. So I'm going to just draw this straight on because I'm on live, obviously. So yours will always come out much better than mine because I'm doing mine, you know, in the space of an hour that I do. So I'm going to put my fabric down on my workspace. I'm going to double it up so I can cut the two pieces together to save me a bit of time. And I'm folding it right sides facing because I'm going to draw on the back of here with a pen or a pencil my size. So this is cut really awfully, this fabric. It's really wonky. So I might straighten this up actually. Let's have a look. Is that wonky? Oh no, not too bad actually. So I'm going to draw this on with my ruler and then I'm going to cut it out. And just get my square and make sure, because that looks really wonky at the bottom there. Just going to get my square and see if it actually is. Let's have a look. Yes, it is. I thought so. So I'm just going to square my fabric off against the raw edge. To make it a bit more level along the bottom. And then I'm just going to draw out my measurements. There we go. So if you buy a piece of fabric from somewhere and you pick it up and you think, oh, I don't know, that looks really out of shape on the bottom, what you can do is find the raw edge here. So that's going to be straight. That end piece, that piece where you've either got a different colour like you have here, you can see you might have, sometimes it shows some like little holes along there. That's your raw edge, and that's gonna be square. And then what you want to do is get something that is square. So if you've got a ruler like this, a square ruler, use one of those. If not, just get like a piece of A4 paper, something that you know is cut to, you know, square, and you want to line that up against that square raw edge. And you'll be able to see along the bottom here, if that's laying against the bottom edge, it's square, and if not, then it's not. So draw along and then cut it out so that whatever you're making is going to turn out the right shape. Because otherwise, if you're making like a cushion cover or something, it's just not going to end out right. The pattern's going to be wonky, or, you know, you'll end up with a very funny shaped cushion and wonder how you ever managed to get that shape. So square it off along the bottom. It's where I think someone's torn this fabric instead of cutting it when they've measured it out for me. Let's see, who else we got here? Adele is sketching. Melanie. Hi, Melanie. Karen. Hi, Lisa. I'm definitely watching this on replay as well. Oh, well done. Lovely. So I've got a nice square bottom now. I've cut that square. I'm going to put my measurements on. So 38 across. So that's 30. 38. I'm going to measure that up here again. So again, when you're measuring, you probably all know this, but when you're measuring, make a few marks up your fabric so you can join those marks up to get a nice straight line. So 38 across and then 42 up. So 30, it's raining out there again. It's horrible now. 42. So it looks really tall. And then up this side, so 30, 42. There we are. I'm going to do one in the middle to meet it up. So if you've got your pattern piece, you obviously don't need to draw onto your fabric. And if you are going to draw onto your fabric, either with a tailor's pencil or I'm just using my pen, just do it on the reverse so that, you know, you're definitely not going to see it anywhere. Certainly if you're using a pen to do that, then draw it on the reverse. so that you can't see it. There we are. So now joining up my dots. It's when you make your marks and you're like, oh, where are they? I can't see them now. So this looks completely unsquare again. This is really bizarre, this fabric. It's puzzling me. What's going on? 38, yes. 38. How weird. Do you know what? I might just cut this to eye because it just looks like it's not square. It's really strange. I don't think the spots are square. I think this is the issue. So it's making my eye look as though it's not, you know, lining up properly, but it's actually the spots on the fabric, I think, are not square. I'm going to cut it by eye because my eye measurements are quite good. And see how it comes out. Right, so I've got my now square little. Let's see who else is saying stuff. Leslie, watching with my little munchkin before bedtime. Ah, hello, little munchkin. Bless, lovely. So I'm going to cut those two pieces out now. So these are my two main pieces of fabric. So just using my scissors, I'm going to cut up this fold as well because I don't want it folded down the side. Like so. There we go. So it's quite nice when you draw it onto the fabric because you don't have to then cut around a pattern as well. Sometimes that's quite tricky to cut following an actual pattern on a piece of fabric. So sometimes it's easier just to draw it onto the actual fabric, makes it easier to cut the shape out. So just a little tip for you. I love this purple spot, it's gorgeous. So let's get rid of all the rest here. Let's get rid of all the excess fabric I don't need. There we go, that's the first bit's done. So now I want to think about my pocket. So this is where a little bit of maths comes into play because we want to make it obviously a bit longer so that we can fit our pens into our pocket. So I've cut out my two pieces now. One is going to be the outside of my roll and the other one is going to be the inside of my roll. So that'd be like the background to the pocket in front here. Hopefully you can all see that on camera okay. So this is what I'm going to use for my pocket in the front. So I now need to decide how wide I want that. So I know I'm going to need my pocket to be just a bit shorter than that 25 because I want my pens to poke out the top. So I am going to chop off for my pens, what was that, 25 centimeters? That's for my notebook, in fact, wasn't it? So what I'm going to do is chop off a good, let's see how long my pens are. What am I going to do on here? I want to make my pocket to house my pens as opposed to my notebook. So my notebook is much taller, but my pens are shorter. So my pocket is going to be shorter. My notebook is going to be poking out much further than my pens are. So I'm actually going to do my pocket 15 centimeters deep, but my actual height of my notebook is going to be the 25. So that will then allow my pens just to poke out the top of my pocket there. I'm not going to add any seam allowance on that because I don't mind if it pops out a bit more, to be fair, but you could, if you wanted to, add a little seam allowance on. I'm not going to. I think 15 centimetres, if you take sort of another centimetre off, that's still quite a nice bit poking out the top. We've got a flap coming over to keep them from falling out anyway. So I'm going to do my pocket 15 centimetres tall, and then width-wise, I need to sort of consider how deep I want each of my channels for my pens. So what will naturally happen with your pocket, it will just form around the pens going in. They're not that, they're not that deep. So you don't have to leave a massive, big sort of bumpy sort of gap on each pen going across, which would actually be really tricky to do to make it look really neat and tidy. So I would just sort of measure your widest pen. These are 1 centimetre wide, roughly. So I would probably do your little pocket, say, I would even do it like 1.5 centimetres. And just test one, make sure your pen slides in because you want it to be quite snug in there. You don't want to have a big gap in that pen's you know, falling out. That's just going to be really annoying. So I'm going to do my little pockets 1.5 centimetres. I'm going to test that. So let me test it first before you sew yours. So I'm going to now work out how many pens I want to get in here. So I've got 18 centimetres for my pocket, for my book, sorry. So I'm going to add 3 centimetres onto that to leave allowance for my pages. So that'll leave a good centimetre each side of my book plus a bit more. So my actual notebook part is going to be 18 plus 3, 18, 19, 20, 21 centimetres. So then what's my remainder? Take 3 off of 18. 14, 15, 16, 17, so 15 centimetres. Oh my God, I've got to do some maths now. So if I'm going to leave 1.5 centimetres for each of my pen gaps, how many 1.5s into 15? Notes in the comments, please. Come on, people. Who's got a calculator? I'm on my phone recording, so I can't do this. Work out 15 centimetres divided by 1.5, please, people. And put that in the comments. I need it. And let me see what the other comments are while I'm waiting for one of you lovely ladies to do that. Let's have a look. Oh, 10. Thanks, Charlotte. Actually, I probably should have known that. It's really easy maths. But hey-ho, I'm on live sewing, so I'm let off. So 10 centimetres. Okay. So let me just think while I'm on here. What's that? 10. Oh, you're all doing 10 now. Okay, people. All right, people. I know it's 10 centimetres. So 10 centimetres, so 10, sorry, not 10 centimetres, 10 goes into 15 at 1.5. So in that case, I am going to add onto there because I don't want to leave bumps in it. I'm just going to sew the gaps and let the pens make the fabric part. So I'm going to add another 2 centimetres on there for a little bit of leeway and my seam allowances both sides. So I'm going to have I am going to have 18 centimetres plus 3, which was 21, plus the other 15, 16, 17 centimetres. I'm going to give you all these measurements. So if you want to copy mine completely, you can, because I'm probably making this way more complicated than I need to. 38 centimetres. Okay. I'm going to put all these measurements in the comments. So just to recap, if you are writing this down, before I put the comments after I've done this live, currently I have got a backing and a lining which is 38 centimetres by 42, 38 along by 42, nice and easy. Then I'm going to cut a pocket now, which is going to be 15 centimetres. I'm not going to leave a seam allowance because I don't mind if it's a bit smaller, but you can do. Oh no, thanks Charlotte. 15 centimetres deep by 30, oh no, hang on, 38 centimetres wide, which is exactly what the width of my thing is anyway. So all of that working out comes to the same. How's that come to the same? 17 and 21 is 38, isn't it? I'm adding that up right, aren't I? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add more centimetres on because that just doesn't seem right to me. So I'm going to add on another 5 and then I can cut it off at the end if I need to. So 43 centimetres, people, along the bottom. So 15 by 43. This is way too challenging for a Thursday night at 8 o'clock. My Lord, who would have thought I worked in a bank all those years? Anyhow, moving on. So 15 centimetres deep for my pocket. By 43 wide, people. So again, I'm going to draw mine onto my fabric. It's much easier. Okay, so this fabric actually that I bought had a bit of a mark on it, but I think this is okay. I'm going to move that out the way because I don't want to cut through that. And I want to grab my ruler back, which is there. Okay, so let me see if this is 43 centimetres across the bottom here. So there's Charlotte sewing along with me thinking, what the heck? What measurements am I using? 43, there we go. So I'm going to sew to there. I'm going to follow these dots because these are definitely straight. I looked earlier when I was making something. By 15. So I'm going to cut my raw edge out though. So second row of dots. Right, okay, got it. pocket measurement complete. So what I'm going to do again for this, because I want my pocket lined, because the it's too thin really, you want it to have a lined pocket. I'm going to cut up the sides and then I'm going to fold it in half and just double it up at the top. So I'm going to cut it on the fold. So there's my 15 centimetres. I'm going to fold it over and then cut it along the bottom on the fold. So my 43 centimetre width, I'm cutting on the fold here. So the two bits here are 15 going down, and that will give me my lined pocket, which I will just show you in a moment once I've cut it out. So, pocket after all that measuring. So my pocket is 15 centimetres deep by 43 centimetres going along widthways, and I've cut it on the fold, so the fold is at the top there, my raw edges are on the bottom, so it's actually 30 centimetres deep by 43 wide. Does that sound okay? Let's have a look. Who else is on here? No calculator needed. I know, thank you, Charlotte. Honestly, all these jokes. Hello, Renata. Just on, no problem. We are just cutting out our pieces. I'm just going to cut that raw edge off as well a little bit, because that's not looking very nice. Okay, so now we've got our pieces cut. The only bit I forgot to bring over actually is my little tie. So I'm going to use a bit of my flower ribbon for my little tie as well. Okay, so we've got our pieces cut now. We've got our front and we've got our lining, or our outside and our lining, and we've got our pocket piece, which will go on this front bit here, and our pocket piece is overlapping slightly at the edges, which is good. That's what I wanted. So it looks like it's really low down. If you see it there, hopefully you can see that. It looks like it's really small, but this bit's going to come over to hold our pens and pencils in, and then I'm going to leave a space for my notebook here, and then my pens and pencils here. So my one is actually just going to fold in half with a tie, but if you do pencils all the way along, that's when you can then roll it up and your tie will be there. So I'll show you where to put your tie for both ways that you do it. Now I was going to put some batting in mine as well, just to make it look extra luxurious. So this is my batting that I use in the workshop. This is a fairly thin one, but I think want it a little bit thinner. So I'm just going to pull it in half, which you can do. So batting, you can kind of like separate really, really easily if you sort of do it gradually going along. So I'm just going to put it in half. So I've just got a little bit then, so it's not quite so thick, she says. I just felt it would give a little bit of protection to whatever I put in there, if it's sort of stuck in my handbag down the bottom or somewhere, or if you drop it, it's nothing worse than your pencil leads breaking, is there? And also it can make it look a little bit more luxurious if you've got a bit of batting in. I always think a little bit, yeah, a bit nicer, not quite so flimsy. So that was my thinking. So I'm just going to sort of pull some of this batting away to thin it out a bit. You can get a thinner batting, I just don't have any in the workshop, so I'm just improvising basically. So showing you can improvise with what you've got. You don't have to go out and buy everything, especially. There we are. So I've just thinned that out. Can you kind of see? So that's the thicker and that's just the thinner. So it just gives me a little bit of something behind my pencil roll inside the middle. So let's see if that, perfect. Look at that, very good. So I'm going to trim that off. So I'm going to cut that the full size of my outside piece. So it'll be in my little flappy bit that comes over as well. There we are. So that is the full size of my main piece of fabric. So just one of those I'm going to use. I don't need that in my little pencil pocket bit, just in that main bit of fabric. Okay, I'm going to put that aside, and I'm going to put one of these big bits aside as well, because we're going to use that at the end. So that's going aside, and then I'm going to keep one of my main bits of fabric down facing me, face up, and I'm going to now apply my pocket piece to that. So I've cut it on the fold, so the top of my pocket piece doesn't need a hem on there, doesn't need a seam, it's already joint. So that's going along the top, so you can iron that down if you want to. So on this bit, to use a bit of trim and show you where you can use it, this is where I'm going to put a bit of my ribbon to start with. So I'm just going to trim the top of my pocket with that pretty bit of ribbon there, just to give you an idea of where you can use ribbons and trims and rick-rack, whatever you've got at home in your stash, because they're all too tempting to buy, aren't they? They're so pretty. Let's have a look who else is on. Right, I'm going to move across the sewing machine set now. So I'm going to bring you across. My sewing studio is all everywhere at the moment because I'm having a little bit of a different layout. So I'm sort of practicing different layouts. So my normal sewing position where I sit is all a bit, you know, up in the air at the moment, all over the place. So I'm just going to clip this bit of lovely ribbon along the top of my pocket, just where that folded edge is already, and then I'm going to sew that on. And what I'm going to do, actually, I might see if I've got, there you are, so I've just clipped that along the top, literally. Okay, and I'm going to sew that along. Now when I sew a ribbon on, what I do is I sew down one end and then I sew down the bottom edge as well, because if you just sew it on the top, you're going to have a flappy bit, and you don't want to sew down the middle because you're going to sew over your pretty pattern. So I sew top and bottom. I just want to see if I've got a cream thread. I haven't. I might use that pretty yellow because that blends a bit better than the white because it's cream. Have a sip of water. So, what have we all been up to this week while I set this machine up? Have we all had a good week so far? I can't believe it's the 1st of March tomorrow. Although I'm quite excited, that's a step closer to spring, to be fair. I quite like that idea. We've had this lovely weather this week, apart from today. It's not been quite so good. So that's quite nice. We need some nice weather. I want a nice hot summer again. That's what I'm gunning for this year. I can move my machine a bit closer. Okay, so all I'm doing now is literally sewing my lovely bit of ribbon onto the top of my pocket. So you don't have to add this bit on. I just want to give you an idea of what you can do to jazz up your makes a little bit if you want to. So just a straight stitch all the way along. What you could also do here, which would look really pretty, is if your machine has got any fancy stitches on there, this would really be a really nice opportunity to use one of those, practice one of those. And they're always nice if you do them in a contrasting colour thread. So if you've got, you know, some of my ladies' machines I know who come and do sewing with me, got really pretty designs on their machines that they do. So along the top of the pocket, that would look really pretty. And you need to do that at this stage before we attach it, obviously. So I'm going all the way along. That's the top done. So just take your time when you're doing that. You just want to get as straight as you can all the way along the top. And then I'm going to do the bottom now as well. That yellow blends in really nicely on that ribbon, actually. And then all the way along the bottom as well. There we are. You can use any type of ribbon for this, any trimmings you've got. Brick rack would look really lovely too. There we go. I'm going to look at my comments again in a minute. So if you're sewing along, have you managed to cut out okay? Have you managed to cut your pieces out all right? Let me know. Let's have a look. Karen, I've been to Craft Club earlier today, learned how to make a spring flower arrangement in a pot. Oh, lovely. That sounds amazing. What was that, using real flowers, Karen? Or sounds very relaxing, nice. There we are, ribbon is on. Yeah, let me know if you're sewing along, if you're getting on okay. There you are, that's my ribbon now sewn on top and bottom, can you see there? Just attaches it really nicely, gives a nice little topping to my pockets. Liking that, and that also sort of flattens that folded over edge, that top edge of the pocket as well, so it just gives it a nice finish as well, just holds it down really nicely. So that's our pocket top bit done. So now I want to get my backing piece that I'm going to attach my pocket to, and first of all what I want to do Here it is here. So I want to lay that down right sides facing me, get the edge, the right hand edge of the right side of my pocket, and lay that down to the right hand edge of the right side of your backing fabric. Line that up, and then I'm going to stitch that down to hold it in place. So let me show you. There's my backing fabric, my pocket led along the bottom, the right hand side of that when you're looking at it. You want to line it up on that edge, that right hand edge, right in the bottom corner, and then I'm just going to sew down that pocket side just to hold it in place where I want it. So just a straight stitch again, right from the top of the pocket, not too far in. This is just really to hold it in place. It's not doing anything more than that because we're going to sew all the way around afterwards. So you don't have to worry about a seam allowance. Keep it quite close to the edge just to hold that pocket in place. I will show you afterwards. There we go. There you are. So all I've done is sewn just down the side of my pocket there, just to hold that first side in place, and that's the right hand side of my backing fabric. Let's have a look. What have you said? The fresh flowers and greening from the garden. Oh, lovely. Hello, Elaine. Hello, watching you. I'd love to sew along, but not feeling 100%. Oh, I hope you're feeling better soon. Hello there. Nice. Thanks for joining us. Lovely. These videos stay on the group always. If you want to find any of my past videos, be warned, I look hideously brown in some of them. I look back and think, oh my God, where's the summer? Where's my tan gone? But you can look back. If you go to the top of the page and all the different options, like it's got, I think, I can't remember what it all is now, conversations or something, or photos, files, albums. If you go into albums, you can see all the videos in a video album, and you literally just scroll through, click on them, and on those I'm going to be making something. So you can go right back and see all my past makes and follow along. I mean, it's quite nice. If someone goes back and clicks on something in comments, it jumps to the top of my group page as well. So it then gives everyone else the opportunity to have a look at some of my old videos as well. So if you do have a scroll through and comment, that will jump the video up so everyone else can see it as well. So go back and see what things I've made in the past if you're new to the group or haven't been on here from the start. And you can see all the other little bits and pieces I've been making live sewing since we started. So just so you know, so the top of the page and it's albums, and then you'll see all the videos. And you'll know it's a video because in the picture, the still picture, you'll have an arrow that shows it's a video. Oh, hello, Emma. Lovely to see you. So now I'm going to do my sections for my book and then my pens and pencils. So my pens and pencils, I'm literally going to sew 1.5 centimetres. I'm not going to make a little bump in the fabric for my pen, I don't think. I don't think I need to. I think the fabric will sort of scrunch up itself to do that. But for my book, I do need to do that because my book is obviously much wider. So I'm leaving 1 centimetre width for the notebook, plus another centimetre for a bit of room. So I want to add my book width plus 3 more centimetres. So what I want to do is get my ruler. So here's a technical bit. Get my ruler. I'm going to measure in. I don't really want to mark on here. I'm going to get my tailor's pencil or a pencil. I'm going to mark in from the side my seam allowance, so my 1 centimetre first. So this is just on the top of my pocket here. I'm going to, just above that actually on my backing fabric, because you won't be able to see it so much. I'm going to mark 1 centimetre in, that's my seam allowance. Then I'm going to move my ruler in and measure my book width, which was 18, what did I measure? Which was, let me remind myself, so it was 15 centimetres wide and then 3 centimetres extra. So I'm going to now measure my 15 centimetres to there and put a little mark. And then on my pocket fabric, I'm going to measure another 3 centimetres, which is my extra, and mark that on my pocket fabric, so here. And that's what I'm going to move into my 15 centimetres. Let me just show you what I've done there. So I have measured in from my edge 1 centimetre and made a little mark on my upper fabric there. Can you see? From my edge, my seam. That's my 1 centimetre seam allowance where I'm going to be sewing. You can just see it there. then I've measured from that 1 centimetre seam allowance mark I've made all the way across 15 centimetres, which brings me to here. That's the width of my pocket, but then I want to give it a bit of room because my book is obviously not flat. So from that 15 centimetres, which is there, I've then measured another 3 centimetres across, and I've put a mark on my actual pocket piece there, which is there. And I'm going to move that in to that 15 centimetres, and that will give me hopefully the right size pocket for my book. Okay, does that make sense, people? Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm going to then pop a pin in it at that point. So move that into the 15 centimetres. Pop a pin. Where's a pin? Here it is. And that will give me a bit of room for my book to sit. And what's really important at this point as well, when you're doing this, you're obviously focusing on the top here. You want to make sure it stays level along the bottom as well. So you don't want your pocket here to be sort of sewn on like this, for instance, or you don't want it to be sewn on like this, for instance, because you'll be focusing on those measurements and then think, oh God, look, my pocket's all wonky. So just make sure the bottom is lined up as well, and pop another pin in there to give you an idea where you're coming down. So let's make sure this is flat all the way along. I'm going to pop another pin in there. There we are. So this is the only pocket that's going to sort of stand out from itself. My pen and pencils ones aren't particularly going to do that. So I'm now going to sew that pocket in place. So exactly where I've measured the little dot on my pocket and I've popped my pins, I'm going to now just sew with a straight stitch all the way up. And spotty fabric's quite nice, and stripy, in fact, if you get the stripes straight, because you can follow them when you're sewing up the line. So it just gives you a little guide, really. All the way to the top. And I always just almost come off the top of the pocket slightly, just to sort of hook in my stitch. There we are. Remember to do your little back stitch, remember, at the start and the finish. We don't want anything unravelling. So that's my first pocket there. Can you see? It's got a bit of a gap. That's going to fit my notebook in beautifully. And my notebook's going to be held in, of course, because I'm going to have my flap coming over the top as well. So now I want to attach all my little pencil sections. So what I'm going to do next is start to sew these along. What did I say? What did I say? I've forgotten already. What was my pen? 1.5 centimetres spaces. That was it. So I'm going to sew mine 1.5 centimetre spaces. So I'm basically now, what I'm going to do is go along my pocket from that line that I've just sewn there for my notebook to go in. From that line, I'm going to mark out 1.5 centimetre gaps all the way along. I don't want it to be any smaller than 1.5 centimetres. If anything, a slightly bit bigger if you don't mark, you know, perfectly. So I'm going to mark that all the way along, and that's where I'm then going to stitch next, all the way along. And I'll see how many pens I can fit in here, shall we? Let's have a look. So if you're thinking, oh, I'd quite like to get, I don't know, a fluorescent pen in there, a marker pen or something, you need to sort of measure those pens individually. So you could make, you know, the little gaps all different sizes if you want to. But if it's just for pens and pencils for the children, then all these little gaps are going to be the same. So you probably want to use tailor's chalk for this, or an invisible pen, really, because you don't want to see the marks on your lovely fabric. So ignore my pencil usage here. Let's see, what else have we got? Oh, thank you, Karen. My brain can only hold so much when I'm trying to talk, sew and remember. It's tricky. So 1.5 centimetres, so quite a lot can go in here. This is really good. So what I might do is sew it so far along, and then I might make a couple slightly bigger, because I am probably quite likely to want to put a highlighter pen in or something. So I might do that in fact. In fact, I'm going to treat myself to I can't remember what they're called now. You can get erasable pens. Has anyone tried those? Someone mentioned them to me today, and I always prefer to write with pen than I do pencil. Pencil just feels really messy. I just write neater with pen. But also I quite often, you know, write something and then change my mind if I'm making notes and things. So someone told me about an erasable like biro you can get now. So I'm going to go and have a look in W. Smith's at the weekend. Has anyone used one of those? Do they actually work? Let's have a look. Amazing. Have them out. Do they actually work, Elaine? Can you rub the biro out? That doesn't seem real, but so if it does, I am totally buying some of those at the weekend. Exciting. So what I'm doing now, because I've got dots on here, I haven't had to draw any lines. I've just made a mark at the bottom and a mark at the top to follow my 1.5 centimetres. I'm just following my dots. You can. Oh my God, and you, Deborah. Oh my God, I'm missing out. I need to get these pens. Right, I'm getting some of those. What are they called? They've got a special name, haven't they? I thought. Or am I imagining that? Let me know. What are they called? So, coming up. So that's my first 1.5 centimetres. So I'm just going to test this for you guys. What's it called? A friction ball. Oh, okay. Well, I'm definitely going to try one of those if you guys think that they're working or know that they're working if you use them. Sounds good. Exciting. So there's my first little pocket. I don't know if you can see that on camera. So there's the line from my notepad pocket, and then there's my first gap, 1.5 centimetres. There's my marks at the top. And I've just sewn it flat basically. I'm just going to see if my pen will fit in there beautifully. Ooh, look at that. Beautifully. Can you see? It slides in there really, really lovely. So if I had attempted to make, you know, a little tunnel almost for that pen to fit in, it wouldn't have been so neat, and plus the pen's probably going to come out quite easily. So there you have it. There, that pen is in there. I'm just going to try my other biro because this pen is kind of flat. Quite nice actually, just to make sure this fits in as well. Beautiful. There you go. So that's 1.5 centimetres, that gap. So I would imagine that's going to be the size of a standard biro. Let me just try this random pen as well. Perfect. Look at that. Yay! My measurements work. I'm impressed with myself. So on that note, I'm going to carry on sewing my 1.5 centimetre channels with all that excitement. So I'm following my dots on here. This is really handy actually. I recommend this. Choosing a fabric that you've got straight, make sure they're definitely straight, dots or stripes. Really helps with your stitching. Lovely. So I'm going right up and over the ribbon as well. So, yep, straight over the ribbon because I want it obviously to be attached right to the top. My thread keeps getting caught somewhere, I don't know where. So going all the way along. So what roll are we going to make? What have you thought about, ladies? Who's going to make a felt tip roll? Has anyone got any ideas? Anyone going to have a go at doing the notebook roll like I'm doing here? It's not going to quite be a roll. It's going to be like a book almost, folded book. Let me know what you're thinking about having a go at. And if you're sewing live, let me know as well. Are you there, Charlotte? How are you getting on? I know you're trying to sew live with me. Let me know how you're getting on. So I'm doing my little back stitch at the start and at the end of this as well, because I don't want it unravelling. That would not be fun. So just take your time with that, with this stage. You know, make sure your fabric's nice and flat. You haven't got any ruffles in there. Let's have a look. I'm going to try one of each. Good idea. A pen pocket, Charlotte. Well done. How are you getting on, Charlotte? Are you sewing along? How's your measurements working out? Cool. So how many have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4 pens so far. So this bit probably takes obviously the longest. Making sure you're doing this nice and straight. Oh, lost my thread. Re-thread my needle. So also, who's looking forward to next week, the beginning of March, because we know what's happening at the beginning of March on the Social Sewing Community Group. Who can tell me what's happening in March? Apart from my online course, of course. What's Elaine said? Notebook I would try at the weekend. I'm writing everything down. Well done, Elaine. You can always watch it as well. Yes, what's happening in March on the community group? Come on, people, tell me who's been listening. What are we going to be doing through March on our live videos, which is very exciting. I want to see who's been listening to me when I jabber on. Let's have a look. Well, if no one's going to reply... Hey, Jackie, well done, woohoo! It's Make a Skirt March, woohoo! Yes, definitely. So, at the weekend, because I seem to have had a really crazy week this week, and everything I planned to do has seemed to gone awry. I don't quite, well, a few things have happened that have been out of my control, but it all seems to have, gone crazy. So I haven't got everything done that I wanted to do on time. So this weekend I am going to be popping a little post up to let you know, give you an idea of some things that we're going to be doing next month, so March, and maybe what you might like to sort of start thinking about getting if you want to join in. So look out for that post. And we're all going to hopefully, well, whoever wants to join in, attempt to make a nice simple skirt. Or if you are already competent at making skirts, make any skirt you like, just make a skirt March. So really nice idea, I thought, for coming up to spring, and a really nice idea to sort of start to expand our skills a little bit. You know, I don't normally do that sort of thing on the group page here. I normally keep it small and easy for us, and also for myself doing it live within an hour. But we're going to be attempting a skirt. So I'm going to be making a really simple skirt on live video at some point. It might be over a couple of sessions. It depends how quickly I manage to get it in on the live session while talking. But I'm also going to give you some ideas of different types of skirts you can do, different fastenings, that type of thing. So we're going to have a look at a few different ways of doing it. Let's have a look. Yes, Make a Skirt March. Yay. Hello, Janie. Hello, Hyacinth. Well done. No problem for being late. Welcome. So I'm currently just sewing the little pen sections for my sewing rolls. All very exciting. And when you watch on replay, you'll see that I got very excited that my actual measurements kind of worked so far. I haven't been testing them since, so it could be a disaster. I could be doing my sewing lines not straight at all. I'm kind of doing them by eye a little bit, following my dots. So how many have I got? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me do another one, 9. My fabric is moving a little bit, so if your fabric moves at the bottom, don't panic too much. You don't want it to move too much, obviously, and have a really wonky pocket. But of course we can trim off a little bit as well. So I'm going to do this one, and then I might do a couple of bigger pockets maybe for my highlighter pens, because I like a good highlighter. And equally, when I'm in WH Smith's at the weekend, I might treat myself to some of those nice pastel highlighters. So I don't actually know how wide those pens are. Has anyone got one of those stylus pastel highlighter pens to hand? If you have, can you measure the width for me? That would be amazing. And put that in the comments, because that's what I'd quite like to put in my pockets at the end here. So look at this. I am on a roll. Can you see there? That's all my 1.5 centimetre pen pouches. Let me have a little test. This is always scary. Let's see if I can get... Ooh. Maybe if I don't fold it in half. See if I can get my pens in those now. Woo, woo. Nice. Let's have a look. Have I got another one with a lid on, because I don't want to draw on my pouch now I've made it. Nice. So these are 1.5 centimeters. So these are quite tight, to be fair. So if you've got any bigger pens, you definitely need to measure them and make your gaps a little bit bigger. So just bear that in mind. But this fits biros in beautifully. Really snug, really nice. So look at that. They look lush in there. They are not going anywhere. They look fab. And there's my little notepad pocket. Let's have a look. me see, what other comments have we got? Where would I get a pattern for a skirt? At the weekend, Janie, I'm going to give you some ideas. I'm going to have a little search, see if I can find any good websites, or if anyone knows any, put them in the group where we can find some nice simple patterns. Oh yes, simplicity patterns. Yes, Charlotte, are half price at the moment. That's right. We will find a website for you, Janie, and put it in the links for you. Needs to be a beginner, yes. And the skirt, Janie, that I'm going to be making live has not got a pattern. I'm not going to be using a pattern. She's like, oh my God, more measurements. I'm just going to be telling you the measurements you need. It's just going to be elasticated waist. It's super simple for starting out. So you won't need to have a paper pattern to do that. So you don't need to worry about buying one potentially. But if you want to, of course you can. But the one I'm going to be making will not involve a pattern. We're going to be measuring ourselves and making the skirt from that. So don't worry about that. I'm just going to tell you what fabrics you need and how much potentially. And I'm going to put those measurements in the group before I do it live, because it would be mind-boggling for me to try and tell you that on live camera and remember that and get that right. Even if I wrote it down, I'd probably get it wrong. So I'm going to put that in the comments before I come on live to do my skirt pattern so I can focus on what I'm doing. So yes, that's what we're going to be doing. Cool. Right, has anyone got one of those highlighters? Has anyone got one? Let's have a look. There's no comments. No. Okay, so I'm going to guess in that case. So I've got a little bit left of my pocket here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew that level with the edge of my fabric here. So that will give me a bit of excess fabric because those highlighter pens are quite chunky, aren't they? So I'm just going to sew that down the edge. And then I'm just going to divide the middle. So I'll show you what I'm doing. So when you're attaching your pockets to the edge, remember you don't want to sew too far in. We don't want to see this stitching when we sew all the way around our sewing roll in the end, when we do our seam all the way around the outside. So fairly close to the edge, or make sure when you sew round it all together, when we put it all together, your stitches is further in, your seam allowance is bigger. So I've attached that to the edge of my sewing roll there. Hold it in place. So now I've got sort of a slightly bigger pocket there. So I'm going to divide that in half and make sure I've got the same amount of excess fabric either side, and hopefully that's going to fit one of those highlighter pencils. Or what I might do actually is slide it all up to the middle, so have it flat on this edge with a puffy bit in the middle, have a highlighter pen there and a ruler there. That's what I'm going to go for. So a ruler I can do because I've got one of those. I need to leave my seam allowance on the side here, which is 1 centimetre, so up to that spot, and put my ruler in. So okay, so I'm going to sew down here. So you can kind of work out what you want to do where. You can just go with pens and pencils, or you can adjust it to, you know, to house all sorts of gorgeous stuff that you want to do. So this is following this row of dots. So my pockets are quite tight. They're holding the pens nice and snug in there. If you wanted to make the pockets bigger, I probably wouldn't go to 2 centimetres if your pen or pencil is only 1 centimetre wide. If you want to make them a bit bigger, you almost want to just niche it up to maybe 1 3/4 centimetre in size, just to give a little bit more room if you wanted to. So now I've got a flat pocket on the end for my ruler, and then I've got that bigger pocket which I'm pretty sure is going to house one of those highlighter pens. Hurrah! Done! That's all my sections on there now. So my pocket did move up slightly from the edge. I'm just going to trim that off. It wasn't that straight, I don't think, along the bottom. Although I did cut it a bit straighter, but my dots are still a bit wonky. So I've got my big pocket here for my notebook, all my little pen ones in the middle, you can see there, my bigger one for my highlighter pen, and then a nice flat one for my ruler, and my 1 centimetre seam allowance on the side. So pockets achieved, pockets done. That looks really pretty, liking that. So the next bit we want to do is make sure we've got our ribbon for our tie this all together. So we need to grab that, and you want to cut a good length of this so you can get a nice bow. So I haven't done a set size. I probably would just sort of do it by eye, how much you think it's going to be. So if I measure this, and then I can share it with you. Now my one is going to go in half because I've got a book. So I only need to do ribbon that's going to meet at one point, because I'm going to have a bit of ribbon this end and a bit this end. It's going to join up and I'm going to tie it. If you do a roll, what will happen is you'll attach it to one edge, but then the other edge is going to roll in. So what you want to do is attach a big long piece to that one edge that you can then roll around your whole roll. And so what you want to do almost is keep that all together, folded in half, and attach that to one edge. It's going to roll all the way around your roll, woo, like this, and then tie your bow the other side. So that only attaches to one side, if you get that, if you see what I mean. So if you're doing a pen roll where it rolls all the way up, you want to attach your two bits of ribbon to one side of your roll. If you're doing like I've done in a book sort of one, you want to attach one side of your ribbon to one side of your roll and the other side of ribbon to the other side. So you'll have a bit either side, and when you join it, you'll then tie it in a bow. Okay, does that make sense? Right, hopefully. So let me see how much I want. I only want about that much, I think. So this is, how long is this? This is 2 lots of 16 centimetres. So 2 lots of that. So I'm going to cut mine in half because mine's a book one. And then you kind of want to decide where you want that to go. So I'm just going to move you back across to my table here now so you can hopefully see it a bit better. And I'm going to paste all this together. So can you see that? All right, I can't even see if you can see that. Can people see that? So here's my pocket here now. So I've got my back fabric and my pocket attached with all my little pockets in. I've got my 2 ties because mine's a book. Remember, if you're not doing a book and you're doing a roll, you need to put them onto one side. Mine are going to be attached to 2 sides. And you want to decide where that's going to be. So my top bit was 15 centimetres, wasn't it, folding over. So that comes down to there, so it comes over my pocket. So fold that over so you know how deep your roll is, and then decide where you want your tie. So if it's quite tall, you might even want to put 2 ties in there, for instance. So when you fold it over, you've got 2 bits of 2 spaces that you're tying. You might even want to attach a button somewhere and have a little hoop, so you can hoop it over and put a button on there. You might want to just put a bit of Velcro on one side and fold it across and Velcro it on the other side. There's loads of different options. Find what works best for you. I'm going to do the tie option. That's what I've got here. And you know what? I think I am going to do 2 ties because it is quite tall. Yes, and I think that'll look really pretty with 2 bows. So I'm going to cut 2 more bits of this ribbon and have 2 ties on mine. Whoops, which I've just dropped on the floor here. So I'm going to cut 2 more lengths. Like so. Thank you also everyone who has voted in my poll. Thank you so much. I've got loads of ideas happening and loads of things that are going to be happening in 2019 that I'm working on. And I just wanted to get a feel for what people would be interested in going forward. So, you know, I love the group on here, and I'll always do my little mini lives because I love doing those and bringing that to everyone. But I kind of want to advance and do a few more things. So kind of like our Make a Skirt March, I want to go a bit bigger for people. I want to be making some things that are a bit more advanced, a bit more involved, that people can follow along on a proper tutorial. So not like I'm doing here in a live situation where you're like, what's she doing? You know, in a proper tutorial that wouldn't be live, that'd be pre-recorded, that you could follow along to whenever you want to. So that's one of the ideas I wanted to do. I've been thinking about doing some sort of membership site where I could store all of those tutorials that people could join, and then you've got access to them all the time, and new tutorials would be added constantly to that as well. So they would be pre-recorded tutorials that you can sit down and follow me along. I wouldn't be talking in the middle, it'd be zooming in so you'd be able to see exactly what I'm doing, and those projects would be much bigger. Some of the things that I potentially do in my workshops, those types of things, and maybe, you know, even more advanced than that. So they'd be leveled up for you. So you could really expand your sewing as well. You could start on the easy, move to the medium, and then go to the hard. So that's kind of in my mind that I'd really like to do. And that would allow me then to give loads more, you know, loads more value to people, and in a much better environment as well. Because I love these lives. but I'm aware that, you know, they probably are quite tricky to follow along to because I'm talking in between. So that's the kind of thing that I've got in my mind. And also, you know, some maybe print off PDFs that people could purchase just to, if you like to just have that paper sort of copy that you can follow along and read to, because everybody likes to follow along directions in a different way. Some people like videos, some people like to see it on pen and paper. So that's what I want your ideas. What would suit you? What sort of things would you be interested in? To really grow the community more and to allow me to bring more value to you guys, because I am loving everybody's sewing. You're all doing so amazingly, and I just want to really support that further for you. So, you know, I don't want you to leave me. I want you to stay with me. I love you all. So I want to ensure that I'm giving people the value that they want, and that they can grow within the community here and really learn even more and expand their skills even more in this community that we've built, because, you know, I really feel that it's a really nurturing and nice supportive community that I would love to keep you all in and help you expand even more. So really, really helpful. If you haven't done that poll yet, please do, because it really gives me an idea of what people are looking for, and to make sure that I'm not spending my time on things that people just don't want to have or don't want to see. So that's kind of what I've put that up there for. Let's have a look. Thank you guys. Lovely. Thank you. Cool. Remember to do that poll for me. That'd be amazing. So moving back, sorry, let's decide where my ties are going to go. So I'm just going to fold across that top bit to give me an idea of the top of my pouch. So hand ironing, I call that. It just gives me a fold. So I can see now the depth of where I want to lay my ties. Now, when you lay a tie on something to attach to this, for instance, or you know, whatever you're doing that's going to fold over and have a tie, so like my sewing roll that I do, for instance, what you need to do is you need to lay that into the middle of your project. So the temptation is to lay it poking out, because that's how it's going to be the end result, but that's not going to work. That's not going to give you the end result you want. So everything you want to see on your finished product needs to go into the middle of your project when you're sewing it all together. So face down on the inside of your project. So the raw edges are going to meet here, the raw edge of my ribbon to the raw edge of my project. And I'm going to do one at the top there and one at the bottom. Again, you can measure. I'm just doing this by eye, and I want to clip them in place. Oh, let's have a look. There's another comment. Who's that commenting? I've got my very technical elastic band in the wrong place here. Videos are great because sometimes you read and not sure if you're reading it on time. Yeah, definitely. The same with me, Jackie. I like to see things. I'm a really visual person. I like to see what I'm doing. And I also like to be able to rewatch things, because I never take things in the first time round. And for me, because I've kind of got a little bit of creativity about me going on, sometimes when I see other people doing things, I'm like, I'm not sure if that's how I would do it. So I like to rewatch it a little bit to get my head around it. So to line it up the other side, again, you can measure it. I'm just winging it, as they say. So I'm just laying my ribbon across, and where it ends, the other end, I'm going to put my other piece of ribbon. But of course, you know, spend some time and measure it. That's what I would do if I was doing it properly for myself. And then these bits you want to stay in the middle of your make, so you could tie a little bow to keep it out the way so they don't come back out. You don't want to be pulling those side bits. Keep it in the middle. And same on this bottom bit. So remember, they're face down. So on my little pocket pouch here, I want to fold that in. I want that raised bit here to be in the middle. So I'm going to move that out the way. Just line my ribbon back up. Like that. And I'm using my fabric clips to hold these, but you can obviously use pins the same, that's fine. So I'm just tying a really, really loose bow here, just to hold all my ribbon in the middle of my project here. So I also was going to show you, although I'm aware I've been on here for an hour already, how to put your bias binding in the edging of your project. So if you want to add something extra to make it look even prettier, you can add a little trimming in the edge of your project. So what you would do for this, I'm so impressed that you guys are all still with me. It's an hour later. Well done, you. Me jabbering on. You want to get your other piece of fabric right way up. And then what I'm going to do is sew this bias binding on my seam allowance, basically. So I want to do it roughly 1 centimetre in, because that's what I've allowed for my seam allowance. So I want to lay my bias binding along all the edges of my fabric 1 centimetre in. So that 1 centimetre mark will fall right in the middle of my rick-rack. So this is what we call rick-rack. It's kind of like, I always think of it being a bit old-fashioned. I always imagine it being around the bottom of a little girl's skirt or something in the olden days. But it's really, really pretty. I love it. And it's really decorative. You can add it to all sorts of different things. It's just pretty. It's kind of, you know, the same sort of effect as what you'd get with lace, but with this lovely fabric, what they call rick-rack. So this is a medium-sized rick-rack. You can get a jumbo one and you can get a mini one as well. So I'm going to lay my ruler here, and again, true my fashion, I'm just going to estimate this by eye. I'm going to pin this in place. Where are my pins? Here. So what I'm going to do is just pop a few pins round, and then what I'm going to do is sew that in place before I put my project all together. So if I have more time, I'm going to measure all the way around, but I'm not going to make you sit through that tonight. So I'm kind of just going to go for it. So I'm just going to pin in this top bit. I'm not going to cut my rick-rack off because I haven't measured all the way around. You can obviously do that. I'm now just going to sew this on. So I'm going to move you back. Hello, I'm moving you back. It's also technical up here, isn't it? So I'm just going to sew this on now, and I want to sew right down the middle of my rick-rack to hold it in place. And that will be then my seam allowance that I follow. So right down the middle here, I've just got the same colour thread on. This is just like the lemon thread, but it's not going to really be seen as such. And I'm going to sew this rick-rack all the way around my fabric. I'm just going to speed my machine up. All the way down the middle, a straight line all the way through the middle. So rick-rack you could also add to like little sleeves of something. You could add down the seam of, say, I don't know, a little purse or something you're making. You can add it along the bottom of a zipper pouch, you know, underneath the zip, that type of thing. What's that? Let's have a look. I'm still here, Charlene. You're an hour late. The little one wanted to play, but I'm still here an hour late, so don't worry. You've still just joined us. Hopefully we're coming near the end, though. I was just saying I'm very impressed that everyone's still here. And then when I get to the corner of rick-rack, I normally fold it over on itself and then just take it down the other corner. So just fold it over. So that corner just folds over on itself. And then down the centre again. Foot down. So you could obviously try and measure this up a little bit. I'm quite good by eye. My eye measurements are quite good at this stage in my life. It could change as I don't need to wear glasses at this moment in time. So I'm applying this rick-rack to the edge of the right side of my fabric. I'll show you when I'm done. So when I get to this bottom piece, so you might have this pinned in place. So can you see? I'm literally folding my rick-rack on itself. So folding the corner over on itself. A bit tricky to do one-handed. Like that, and then I come down this other side. Can you see? Just fold it over on itself. So that's how I do the corners. You could sort of cut each bit if you want to, but you don't need to. It doesn't make a massive difference. There we are, down this edge. I had an amazing order go out for rick-rack recently to a lady in America. If you're on here, say hello. Who ordered like 50 metres of each of the colour rick-racks I've got. When I cut it all, I was like, oh, it looks gorgeous. So I did ask her actually what she was doing. I can't remember what she said now. I can't. Hi, or a bit late. I shall catch up on the replay. Hi, Siobhan. Yes, I apologise. I'm normally done in an hour. This is obviously a much lengthier live session, so I do apologise. You might want to watch it in 2 halves if you're watching if you go back on replay. You're going to have to squirrel yourself away with a bit of free time to do this. Or hopefully if you're making notes. So this bit you don't have to do. This is just giving you an idea of what you can do to jazz it up and use these different trimmings. Because I know people always wonder. So what plans have we all got for the weekend? It's Friday tomorrow. Can't believe it, the week's gone so quickly. What plans have we all got? Are we all going out or not? Hello Debbie, we're still here sewing. It's now 9:15. Good job, I love it. Right, coming down to my last corner. So I'm just going to be sewing on top of each other. I'll show you these little corners now for you. And I'm just going to cut that off. So I've literally sewn that all the way around the edge, so that potentially would be 1 centimetre in, and I've sewn all the way through the middle of that large rick-rack, or that medium-sized rick-rack. Can you see? The corners I've just folded over on themselves and then gone back down the other side, all the way around. There you are. Looks like a lovely little handkerchief or something, a little tablecloth. So that's my rick-rack done. So when I sew it all together, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew and follow this stitching on the back of this bit of fabric here. So when I put the whole thing together, I'm going to sew on the back of this bit here, so I can follow that stitch line, so I know that I'm going to still be sewing in the middle of my rick-rack. There you are. Special trick. Let's have a look. Oops, sorry Lucy, wine evening, catch up tomorrow. No problem, Debbie, bless you. So now I'm going to put it all together. I'm just going to whiz you back round. We are almost done, people, almost done. So I'm going to now package this all together. So I need to get my piece of my rick-rack, my piece of my pocket and my ribbons on. I need to put these down right sides facing together. So I need to line these all up together, right sides facing. Like so. I'm going to put some clips around that just to hold it in place for me a moment, like so, and hopefully we want to try and line this up. So I'm just going to move these ribbon clips to the outside. You want to make sure this is lining up on this fabric because you want your rick-rack to show. Okay. So line it all up. Move these clips, clip it all in place. My husband's going to wonder where I've disappeared to. There we are. Now this is the side, this side with the rick-rack where you can see where my stitch line is. That's the side I want to follow. So I'm now going to turn it over and I'm going to lay my wadding. You don't need to do this stage, but I'm putting wadding in mine. Lay my wadding on the back here. It's not ideal having wadding on the underneath of your machine because it gets a little bit stuck in the dog feed, but I want to follow that rick-rack line. So I'm going to put my wadding on the underneath here. It doesn't matter if it's too long because you can trim it off. If you can see your stitch line through the wadding on the other side, then you can keep it on the top side. There we are, that's my wadding. So I've got right sides facing, my wadding on the underneath, and the bit that I'm then going to follow is this top bit where I can see my rick-rack stitch line, and I'm going to sew all the way around now, leaving a gap somewhere at the bottom or somewhere to turn it in the right way, and I'm going to follow that stitch line that I sewed my rick-rack on as well. Okay, I'm going to move you back over. You love wadding, Charlene. It's a crazy thing to use, but it does its purpose. It makes things just look, I don't know, just that little bit nicer, I think. Just that bit of body in it. It just makes it sort of look a bit more luxurious, I think. I can imagine you use it in your little zipper pouches, do you? So I'm going to sew all the way around. This is the bottom of my pen roll now. So I'm following that stitch line that my rick-rack was sewn on with. All the way along, all the way around, sewing all my 3 layers together. All my ribbons are all in the middle there, hopefully away from all the edges because I've given them a little tie, a little bow. stitch line still. Taking my clips out as I go. This is always the most exciting bit, the grand reveal. Now stupidly I haven't got a notebook up here anywhere to hand to make sure my little notebook pocket fits, but I will post a picture so you can all see it. Let's have a look what everyone's saying. On your cosmetic bags, yeah, I thought so. Makes it look all, what did you say? Plushy. Yeah, it does. Love plushy. What a great word. So following that stitch line. So if I didn't follow that stitch line that I'd already done for my rick rack, there's probably very little chance that I would be lucky enough, 50-50 chance, that I would, you know, catch that rick rack in the centre where I need this stitch to be. And you'll see why when it's finished. So actually this wadding is sewing perfectly fine underneath my machine. It's not getting caught, she says, so far. Speak too soon and all of that. Lovely. Right, remember where I started. So remember to leave yourself a fairly good gap to turn it in the right way. Nothing worse than leaving yourself a tiny little gap and you can't turn it in the right way. Who's this? Oh, thank you, Renata. Am I pronouncing your name right? So it's Renata, is that correct? Give me a thumbs up if it is. Karen, what's this? Oh, no problem, Karen. I've been doing paper for the shop. I will have to catch up tomorrow. No problem. No problem, guys. It's a nice little weekend project for you all. Been loving all your little mug caddies as well. Well done on those, all the variations, all the gorgeous fabrics you're all using. Oh, am I not pronouncing it right? How do I pronounce your name? How can you tell me on here? Give me an idea of how I pronounce it. I always feel awful if I think, oh God. Can you like break it down so I can pronounce it for you correctly? I feel awful. Right, I'm going around this bottom bit now, so I want to just check where I started so I give myself big enough gaps. So, okay, so I'm going to come into here. Oh, and you know what? My bobbin has run out. Woo! We love that. Let's see if I've got a spare anywhere. Oh, I've got a lemon one. I'm going to use that. There we go. Woo! That was a lifesaver. I knew that was going to happen. Always worth having a spare bobbin to hand. Oh, let's have a look. In the next so long, I'll introduce myself properly. I'm nearly there. Oh, almost there. Okay, thank you. That will be good. Right, let's go back to where I ran out of bobbin. Right near the end. Typically. So tomorrow, my favourite day of the week. Oh, I haven't done my A to Z of sewing today. I suddenly just remembered. I must stick that on when I go back down. But tomorrow is my Friday finds. Woo, I love Friday finds. Hopefully we share all our bargains. So if you haven't seen Friday finds before, or you have seen it pop up and think, oh, I'm not sure, what can I post on there? Basically, I'm looking for everybody to share anything sewing related that we just all need to know about. So it could be a gorgeous fabric you've seen that's just, you know, we need to buy. It could be a sale somewhere. It could be a discount code. It could be that you found a really nice pattern that's half price. It could be, what else could it be? A new magazine out that we, you know, it's got something really cool in there we should all read. Anything really you think, oh, the girls or guys, if there's any guys on here, really need to get that. It's going to help them with their sewing, or it's going to, you know, make them something fabulous and save them a bit of money at the same time. So that's our Friday finds. That's basically what that is. So here we are. I've sewn all the way around. So I've followed my line of my rick rack. There's my batting on the back. There's my gap to turn it in the right way. And now I'm going to turn it in the right way. And let's see what it looks like. I'll read that in a moment. Oh, here we go. This is what it looks like. So I've got my ties. That's always good. I've got my rick-rack, that's always good. Look at that gorgeous rick-rack. So this is what happens when you sew down the middle of your rick-rack. Check that out. But you need to sew down the centre, so you take your time doing that, but it makes it look so cute. So if you haven't used rick-rack before, I've got a feeling you're all going to want to buy some rick-rack and have a go at this. Of course, it's available in my shop if you want to go over there and buy some. But yes, it's just an extra little decorative touch you can add to your sewing. So to fill up the gap, I've got obviously my rick-rack there, what I want poking out. Then I've got this, stupidly, I've done my gap. This is probably not very good thinking of me, on my pocket pouch. So what I want to do is fold this over and make almost like a little pleat in here, because it's obviously bigger than the rest of my you know, it's got a gap, so I need to make kind of a couple of little tucks in there, a couple of little pleats for my pocket pouch. So probably shouldn't have left the gap on that bit, to be fair. There we are. I'll show you what I'm doing in a minute. And then you want to stitch up your gap, so laying it flat on your rick-rack. I'm going to put some clips on there. You could do this bit by hand if you wanted to, or you can whiz along on the machine, of course, to close up that gap. Oops. I'm just going to do that. There we go. So I'm just going to do a little top stitch on my machine all the way along, but you can do this bit by hand to close up this gap. Still trying to catch it in the middle of my rick-rack. So what you could also do would look really nice now actually, is you could sew all along that top bit, all along that top edge, would give that edge a really nice finish. So you could do a top stitch all along that edge to hold it nice and flat. In fact, I might do that to finish it off a bit later on. And that would just hold it all down nice and flat then and finish it off. I've just sewn up my bottom edge there. You can barely see it. As long as you're using thread the same colour as your fabric, you're not going to oversee that. And actually, my outside fabric, so my bobbin fabric or thread fabric, is actually lilac, which I haven't used, but you could change your bobbin thread to be lilac or the colour of what you're using on the reverse, so you can't see your thread either. So I've just stitched along that bottom gap there. I've popped a couple of little pleats in the bottom there when I've stitched it a little best I could, and that's my little book pocket. Yeah, so it all needs a bit of a press. It needs a little top stitch all around the edge. Do you know what, I'm just going to do that while I'm on video with you, because I want to. I haven't got any purple thread in, but I am not going to worry. I'm going to do a nice contrasting thread of this yellow all the way around the top bit, pull my rick-rack out. Now if you iron something that's got a batting in, you just want to do it on a really cool heat, because the batting can get, it can melt it a little bit and almost make it go a bit hard, so just be aware of that. So you can run the iron over it, but just on a really low heat, and don't hold it on there for too long. So this little top stitch I'm doing, I'm just sort of pulling my rick-rack out as I go to keep it nice and flat. Just be careful at the corners, because there's quite a bit of fabric there. Pull my rick-rack out, and this just kind of finishes that off. So on that corner I've kind of gone almost round like a little diagonal, because you can't go right up to the corner, because that corner bit of rick-rack is sat in there, making it quite thick. So hopefully this has given you some ideas to use your trimming as well that you might have. And you can use this rick-rack on anything, in any hem, any seam that you're using. You can use it to poke out like this, or you can sew it directly on the top of a fabric, like I have the ribbon down here, just as a decorative edge. So I'm just going to go around this corner again. Pull avoid that thickness. Don't want to break my needle. So just pull out the little like points of my rickrack to make it nice and flat. There we go. Super. So I probably wouldn't do the bottom bit where your pocket is, simply because it's quite thick. You're going to struggle to get over that hem there. So here we go. Let me give you an idea of what this looks like. Trim off all my little... So here we have it. Here is now, let me move you back. Let's have a look. Oh, thank you, people. Let's have a look at some of your comments. Yes, the rickrack's so cute, isn't it? What a difference the wadding versus felt versus interfacing. Do they all do the same job? They all similar job. Let's have a look. Some of them have a different purpose. So for instance, last night we were making the oven glove here. So I used a thermal like wadding or interfacing. So that's specifically for that purpose. So it's heat protective, and that almost looks like a felt kind of. Wadding, batting, it just adds sort of texture, protection to what you're making. It boosts the fabric out a little bit, gives it more depth. Interfacing generally is to give something a bit more structure. So you can get a really lightweight interfacing, a medium and a heavyweight interfacing. So for instance, sometimes when I make a zipper pouch, I might put a medium weight interfacing, and it just holds the fabric up nicely. If I'm using a cotton fabric, it will give it more depth and more structure. A lightweight interfacing I might use if I'm doing a plique on the back of a fabric to give that piece of fabric a bit more structure while I'm appliquing onto it, so it just holds it flatter, makes it stronger almost. Or if you're doing dressmaking, for instance, down the front of a shirt, the placard, is that what it's called? The placket, you would normally put an interfacing in there as well. So it just gives the fabric that sort of different structure really. It gives it... So on a shirt, for instance, where you're going to put the buttonholes, you want that to be quite hard wearing. So that interfacing will give that extra bit of hard wearingness. That makes sense. So that's the kind of thing that interfacing would do. Whereas wadding gives it that padded feel. So you use it in quilting. You can use it in bags and things. It just gives a little quilted feel to the whatever you're making. Right, so yes, rickrack. Look at that cute rickrack all around the edge. Doesn't that look sweet? There's my little pouch at the bottom. Let's pop some pens in. I'm going to fold this over and show you. Let's pop the pens in. So ready to go out and do some colouring or drawing, whatever I want to do. I haven't got my notebook because I can put that up here. Have I got any notebook anywhere? No, of course not up here. My notebook would go in there, and then I fold over the lid like so, which will hold my pens in place so they don't fall out. So if you've just got pens, you would have one lot of ribbon. So your ribbon would both be coming out from one side. You would roll up the side that doesn't have your ribbon in, for instance, attached to it. So you'd roll it up like that, and then your two ribbons that are coming out the one side, you'd sort of spin them round and you would tie a bow. So you'd probably only have one, or if you had two, you'd have two up here and two down here. That would be your pencil roll if you had a whole roll. But where mine is a book, what I'm going to potentially do is fold it in half. The book will be in there holding that half, you know, firm. And then I'm going to tie my ribbons up. So, like this. So actually my ribbons can be a bit shorter. They don't need to be this long. Let me cut these down and I'll tell you the measurements. What I'm going to do is put all these measurements in the comments so people can see it before they watch all the video. Yes, that's probably a better idea. There we are. And waste all their ribbons. Oh, cut the threads off. And there you have it. How fab is that? So that's going to protect my little notebook. It looks cute. It's going to have my pens in and my notebooks. I can take that out with me. Looks super funky. I can open it up wherever I am. Open it up like that. Got my notebook, got my pens. It's going to look super cool. You could even keep your Kindle in there or something if you've got one. There you are. You might want a bit more wadding if you're going to do that. But there we have it. Thank you so much for staying with me. This has been the longest live I think I've done so far. I can't wait to see you all have a go. Have a go at jazzing up the trimmings and stuff, whatever you want to do. You can play around with the measurements, of course. But this is quite a good size. I can fit quite a few pens in there, to be fair. And just remember that if you're making a roll that rolls all the way up, you only need ribbon on one side, and it'll be on the side that you roll, that's at the end when it's all rolled up. So that will go up to here. So there you are, ladies. There's our little sewing pen, pencil roll, whatever you want to call it. We've used our gorgeous Rick Rack as well. So hopefully you'll have a go at that as well. Yes, and enjoy. Thank you so much for staying with me. You are literally amazing. I honestly mean that. And please go and do my poll for me. I would very much appreciate that as well. Thank you, ladies. Could you use a small bit of lace for the edge? Yes, totally. If you use lace for the edge, Elaine, what you would do is lay the lace into the middle. So the sort of straight bit of the lace would marry up with the outside of your fabric with the raw edge, because you want it then to poke out once you sew all the way around the outside, okay? But yes, you totally could do that. Cool, thank you guys. Thank you so much for sticking with me. And I can't wait to see all your makes. And tomorrow is Friday Finds. So if you found anything amazing this week, or you find anything at the weekend, feel free to go back and pop it on there so we all know where to go shopping and get our bargains from. And have a go with some Rick Rack. Have a go with some Rick Rack. See what you come up with. Next month, tomorrow it's starting, oh my God, next month. So next week we're going to do Make a Skirt March. Exciting. And don't forget to do my poll. That would be amazing. Anyway, I'm going to love you and leave you all now. I totally need to go and have a cup of tea. Thank you all so much for staying with me, and post your pictures in the group. See you guys later. Bye.